and welcome to the iPhone Life podcast. I'm Donna Schill, editor-in-chief at iPhone Life.
And I'm David Averbach, CEO and publisher.
Each episode, we bring to you the best apps, top tips, and great gear in the iOS world. It's been a while since we've recorded an episode, so we have a backlog of Apple news for you. There's a new iPhone 16e, M3 iPad Air, and M4 MacBook Air, plus iOS 18.4 right around the corner, and news on what that means for the AI Siri that we've been waiting for. It's a little bit of sad news. That's only sports, but we'll get on that part. So we have a ton of new stuff to go over with all of you.
Yeah, and if you're watching the podcast, which I recommend you do, you can go to iPhoneLife.com/podcast to watch it, or watch it through the podcast feed. We have a new studio. We moved offices, which was part of the chaos that led to the delay. But yeah,
we love our new office.
We love our new office. Welcome to our new studio.
All right, so let's get started. First, we'll have a message from our sponsor. Incogni is our first sponsor for this episode, and Incogni is an amazing service that helps reduce spam calls and emails, which all of us need.
Yes.
They mitigate the risk of identity theft and also keep your data from being sold to marketers on the dark web. Basically, all of our information is out there on different data broker sites. I wasn't really aware of this until we had a call with Incogni and they explained it. I got a subscription, and now I have almost 200 data broker sites that I've been removed from. So now it just means that I get less spam calls, and I'm also less at risk for identity theft.
And what I didn't realize is on these data broker sites, it's not just your email address. It has all sorts of sensitive information. It can have sensitive medical records. It can have your social security number. So what they do is they scan the web for all the data brokers where your information is, and they require that it gets taken down. And so the reason why that's so important is these are the services that end up in the hands of malicious actors like hackers or people using it for spam. And so by removing it there, you're reducing your risks for spam and also for any sort of data leaks.
And it's really great once you have the service, you can see where they've requested and then where they've successfully taken your personal information down. So it's a really great peace of mind. Also, I just noticed such a reduction in those annoying types of messages once I signed up.
Yeah.
Did you too, David?
Absolutely, I did. Yeah, and it took 10 minutes. So to sign up, we have a special deal that we partnered with them to offer you guys. It's 55% off. Go to iPhoneLife.com/Incogni to sign up, and that's 55% off.
And then enter iPhone Life as your discount code at checkout.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our tip that we're featuring this episode. And that's how to change the text size on your iPhone. And I'm going to offer you a bonus tip on this too, because there's a new way to do this. But this is really handy. You can do it across the board on your iPhone, just so it's easier to read your messages, easier to see what's going on, because the default text size is kind of small.
Yes.
So you can just go into your settings app. It's super easy. Go to accessibility, display, and text size, and from there there's the option to mess around with it until it is right for you, and that'll make default changes across your device. But something that I have done is I've now added this function to my control center. Do you do this?
You know, I really should. I'm sitting here listening to this. Clearly, I wear glasses. My eyesight's terrible. And I'm just like fighting the good fight, trying to read this tiny text. But I'm sitting here listening to this being like, I need to just give up and have bigger text.
Yeah.
I've reached that phase in my life.
just make it the right size for you. No, there's no shame in that. So now you can add this to your control center too. So if you go into settings, control center, that's where you'll see a list of all the control center options. Although you can now do it with iOS 18 also just by pressing and holding once you not an actual button, but once you swipe down from the right side of your corner of your display for control center, you can manually add and subtract controls there too. It's the AA icon one that you can like toggle it up and down, and it'll change the size of your text.
And the reason you like in the control center is then if some text is particularly small, you can turn it up temporarily.
Yeah, it's nice to me. I mean, it's not hard to go into your settings app and change this anytime, but mentally, like going deep into my settings, I just don't as often do.
Yes.
Control center I'm using all day, every day, so it's nice to just be able to change it on the fly. And you don't have to be like just locked into one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people might just want to set it and forget it, but I think it is nice to just have that option in your control center too.
Either way, this is a good reminder to revisit your text size and see what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, I wanted to tell you about our premium subscription called iPhone Life Insider. Many of you listening at home are probably already on our free tip of the day, where we send you something cool you can do with your iPhone in 1 minute a day. But we have a premium subscription if you want to go deeper and really master your Apple devices, and we make it really easy to do that. We have live online courses running all year round. Every month we have a new topic, from security to Apple Watch to the new iOS. So if you sign up now, you'll be all ready to go when iOS 19 comes out in September. And we also have our digital magazine. We have an ad-free version of this podcast with bonus content. And we also have Ask an Expert, where you can ask us your questions and we will help you with any of your tech-related issues. So we offer 30% off if you go to iPhoneLife.com/insider just for being a podcast listener. Sorry, that's iPhoneLife.com/podcast discount, and you'll get 30% off just for being a podcast listener.
And one more time, iPhoneLife.com/podcast discount. And we have a really awesome course coming up this month, actually starting tomorrow. And that will be the
photo management
course. Yes. So if you are somebody who struggles with the new photo app or struggles with organizing your photos, this is an amazing course. So again, go to iPhoneLife.com/podcast discount to subscribe.
So we have a free class on photo management. It's March 12th, so it depends when you're listening. Also, again, on the 19th. So we'll drop a link on how to register for that free class also at this link.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we have our insiders writing in questions all the time that we answer. So I wanted to feature one of them today. And that's from Ross C, who wrote in saying, when you delete a text, is it also deleted for the person you're writing to? And this one, a lot of you might already know, but I thought it's worth revisiting because I do have people ask me this a lot, and I think there's some confusion around it.
Yeah.
So there is a newer feature that lets you undo send with text messages. And if that particularly does allow you to delete a message from your device and someone else's, but it only lets you do it for 2 minutes after sending. Outside of that, anytime you delete a text message on your phone, you're only deleting it on your device, which is really important to know.
Yes. So there's two features, and they sound the same, but they're very different. There's undo send, which literally removes it from somebody's device. The caveat there, the two caveats, one, Donna, you mentioned, is you have 2 minutes to do it. The second caveat is it notifies them that a text has been removed. So it's a little awkward. Usually, most of the time I use it is literally when I texted the wrong person. It's the only time I can think to use it. Because there's no guarantee that they didn't see it already, too. So, if you send a really angry message and then you're like, oops, never mind, they might have seen it.
It's still a bad look. Because they might have seen it, and also they're going to see that you unsent something. So it just sends a strange message. I have found it useful though. Sometimes I've sent incorrect information. We're supposed to meet at a certain time and place, and I put something wrong in there. And it's nice for that. You can just edit the message to change it. But
and I think you have 15 minutes to edit the message.
You do.
So you have a little longer window, so you can edit a message as well for 15 minutes. So deleting a text only deletes it from your side. And it does delete it from all of your devices, though, I believe.
It does. And that's something that I don't know that that was always the case. And now
that is a newish feature. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice. It's not on any of your devices. If, for whatever reason, you're cleaning up your text messages on your own device, that can still be useful.
Yeah, so there's deleting the text, which is only on your devices. There's undo send, which is on both the sender and the receiver's side, but you only have 2 minutes and sends a notification telling them that you undid it. And then there's editing, which you have 15 minutes to do. Also, it does tell them that you edited it, and they can click and view the original text.
Yeah.
So none of these options are for sending really angry messages and undoing them. They're more for just innocent mistakes.
Yeah, and with all of these, you get access to it by pressing and holding on a text message in a thread, and then you'll get a menu with all these options. Undo send is sort of a awkward name in my mind. But it is that it's so distinctly different from deleting a message. So in some ways it's helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's just, but I rarely use that feature. But that was a great question because there's actually quite a bit of nuance to deleting text messages. We also got some nice comments from listeners. It's been a while since we've read any of these out, so I wanted to share. One of these messages was congratulating David and I because the last podcast we were talking about, I'm about to have a baby. David has how old?
She is turning 9 months now, which is wild. Amazing. But it's still new.
So here, have it here. Hi, David and Donna. Congratulations on all the wonderful baby updates. I had no idea. How did I miss that? So happy for you both. David, what's your baby name?
Ellie. Her name is Ellie.
I'm using a fitness app called The Pump. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's app. He put his personal training principles into every workout to maximize results. And he designed all the workouts, and there are programs for every fitness level, beginner body weight exercises, all the way to advanced, no equipment or dumbbell or gym equipment needed.
So the caveat there, because I don't think we said what the question was. The question was, what apps or gear are you using to stay in shape?
And I've actually kind of our New Year's episode. Yes. Yeah.
And I've heard great things about that app, by the way.
So it's The Pump, if you missed that.
And it's Ellie, most importantly.
Yeah. It also features nutrition and training articles, community interaction. So it's great to have other options besides just Apple's own fitness offerings. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and David, was this in light of also your fitness article you wrote?
Yes.
I'll post a link in the show notes to that too, because David tested out Apple Fitness Plus, which we like a lot. I also use that some.
Yeah.
So you can kind of compare and contrast different fitness apps. We have another listener who wrote in about the AnyList app, and this must have been
a different question.
A different question.
Or no, it's for eating healthy. Maybe it was in the same vein.
The health theme. Okay. The AnyList app is keeping us organized with our meal plans and grocery shopping. If we have a plan and we have the necessary groceries, we are less likely to eat out, where we will likely have less healty foods.
I like that.
I want to try that. Yeah.
Do you use any of those grocery apps?
I just use, no, I don't. I just use the Reminders app and have a shared list with my partner. So that,
That's what I do as well, which works
very sophisticated.
Well, it works great for just keeping track of what groceries you need. But what it doesn't do, and it sounds like this does, is help with meal planning. And I run into the exact same problem that this person runs into, which is that we get home, we've both been working, we have 3 kids. It's who has time to think and meal plan at that moment? But if you've already have the groceries in house, I'm not going to eat out. So I would love to try an app like this.
We'll have to give AnyList a try and report back in our next episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to get into our news. I'm excited to have this conversation with you because I feel like there have been a few things that have kind of gone by since the last recording that it'll be fun to weigh in on.
The thing that's sad is that I feel like this was Apple's spring announcement.
Yeah.
So in case you're not up on the news, which we're about to tell you about, Apple did not have a spring announcement, which is why it's sad. So they released some products, which we'll tell you about. But normally we have a whole festivity around this.
I know. And it's strange because now it's been condensed to a 6-second tweet from Tim Cook.
Yeah.
Then we got press releases. But it was sort of a strange thing where Tim Cook has released little teasers for the iPad Air being something's in the air. Spring is in the air. I can't remember. But it was something pretty obvious that, okay, we're getting new Air devices. And then we did. And also with the iPhone 16e, something similar. And my take on that is that while these devices, I think will be right for some people, they're kind of smaller iterations. So maybe that's why I'm hoping this just isn't the new normal. That we don't have any exciting spring announcements.
I think the new normal is exactly what you said, that it's iterative. And so if Apple doesn't have anything exciting to announce, they just do it in a press release is what it seems to be.
And that's been true for a few years.
It's been true for a couple of years, but it's also, part of it is that Apple more times than not just has a small update and does a press release. So that's sort of the sad part of Apple being at this maturity stage for these devices, but they're all great updates. So let's get into them.
Yeah. So I'll wait to talk about iOS 18.4 because that's just more of a rumor. So we'll get into the news first, although I have complaints. So let's first talk about the iPhone 16e. We've been expecting sort of an SE like device to come out this spring. The iPhone 16e is sort of that, sort of not. So Apple released basically an iPhone that supports Apple Intelligence. That's what I would say is probably like the cornerstone of this device.
A cheap iPhone that supports Apple Intelligence.
Cheap-ish. It's $599 is the starting price on that. So it's cheaper than the other iPhones that Apple's currently offering. It has an OLED display.
Yeah, it has surprisingly decent specs.
Yeah, the OLED display to me in some ways kind of confuses me, actually. I mean, I love having an OLED display, but that definitely drives up the price of a device.
Mm-hmm.
There is notably no MagSafe, and there's only a single lens in the camera. So it's kind of like a weird mashup.
It's a weird trade-off.
Yeah, so it like leaves you with some tough decisions, but it is nice that Apple is offering a cheaper iPhone that supports Apple Intelligence, because, you know, we've heard from a lot of you listening at home that, you know, a lot of you have older devices. You don't have an iPhone 15 Pro or later, and that's made it so that you can't experience Apple Intelligence features, which has been a big bummer. So I would say that this device is good for people who are excited about Apple Intelligence, and not so good for photography. To me, like I would look at this and I'd be like, oh man, yeah, OLED, that's great. But a single lens?
You know, you're right. Okay. From Apple's perspective, I completely agree with you. They were releasing this to get more people using Apple Intelligence. I think Apple is going all in Apple Intelligence. Eventually, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And I think that was their perspective. I think the average consumer who buys this product is not buying it because they're excited about Apple Intelligence. I think they're buying it because they need a new phone and it's a cheap phone.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But to me, like, it seems a little bit like Apple's trying to force something that, like, kind of the point you're making is they're forcing something that people don't necessarily really want, which is like an Apple Intelligence iPhone.
Yeah, and especially, so let's break this down. I think this is always helpful to compare and contrast. And so let me just pull this up so we can look here. So iPhone 16e starts at $599. The iPhone 16 starts at $799. So you're saving $200.
Yeah.
It's something.
It's something.
But it's not. I mean, I guess really the difference between those two devices, they have the same chips, the same screen. It's the camera and the
camera
MagSafe.
You're losing out on. Yeah, MagSafe, it's one of those features I actually use all the time. Like, I would be bummed to lose MagSafe.
I love MagSafe. We should someday do a whole podcast on that. But it is optional. Like, you can totally have a wireless charger or just plug it in the normal way, and you're fine there as well.
I feel like it's so this device is $100 more expensive than the SE3.
Okay.
And so it is like, I guess I'm just not sure if it was the right decision on Apple's part to put like OLED in and make it more expensive instead of just like offering an Apple Intelligence device that was actually SE price.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm having a hard time placing it as well in terms of who I think should get it.
Here's what the problem is. In order to run Apple Intelligence, you need to have a powerful processor.
Yeah.
And so if you have a powerful processor, then either you have a powerful processor with really cheap other components, or you charge a little bit more. And I don't know that there was an easy sweet spot for them on that. Yeah. I also completely agree with you. I don't know who buys this phone. I don't think anybody listening to this should buy your phone. If you took the time to listen to an Apple related podcast, this is not the phone for you. Because
it's like not a phone for enthusiasts.
Really? Yeah, exactly. It's not a phone for enthusiasts. And I know that listeners have all ranges of budgets, but it's only $200 more. Like, I think the iPhone 16 is a very reasonable phone. If you're an enthusiast like me, I have the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But I think there's a real good case for the iPhone 16. I cannot make a case for the iPhone 16e. It saves you $200. That's full stop.
I'd say, like, if you're really trying to get a cheap phone, like, just that the SE makes more sense probably than getting the 16.
Yeah, except for it won't. You're not future-proofing your life at all. Like,
that's true.
It won't run Apple Intelligence. You're buying a phone that's gonna be end of life pretty soon.
It has a home button.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody should buy that.
Yeah,
I
the
think
16E at least it's like Face ID. Actually still has a notch, which is strange.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it has Apple Intelligence. To me, it's like the camera is actually what I keep getting hung up on. Not everyone, I guess, is that into photography, but like you're not getting the telephoto lens or the ultra wide lens. It's like Apple was using its marketing hype to be like, it's a 2-in-1 lens. Like you get telephoto. So I guess you do get 2 times optical zoom, optical quality zoom. But if any of you have been like, if you're an enthusiast and you've been keeping up with iPhone models to some degree, you probably already have a camera that's better than the one in the 16E. And it would be kind of a downgrade.
Not that I care about colors. I'm on record not caring about colors, but they've really phoned it in on colors as well. Yeah. Black and white. Those are your options.
I know. Like, I feel like usually Apple does a good job of making fun colors in the cheaper devices, which I wish they would do for the premium ones, by the way. But I also, like, you're just going to put a case on it anyway.
The only thing I would say is I wonder if there's some offers from cellular carriers that are related to this. Like this is a phone that's cheap enough where carriers will give it to people for free and that there's a lot of volume done that way. I don't, it's not my industry. I don't know that, but it seems like there's probably some tactical decisions made here that we do not understand because it doesn't make sense for the end consumer who's just, for us anyway.
Yeah, that's sort of my thought too. And I'm glad you're in agreement with me that it's actually like, usually we do these podcasts and we're like, this device is for this person. I feel a little less inclined to do that with the 16E.
Yeah, I feel a little bit, I don't want to go quite that far because I do know some people are very price sensitive. And if you're really, this device is for somebody who's really price sensitive because I don't know that you should get any other phone. Right? Like, because Apple Intelligence is so critical to Apple's future, if you buy a phone that doesn't support Apple Intelligence, it's not going to be a phone that's supported that long by Apple. So if the case for this phone is if you're somebody who needs to buy a new phone but is extremely budget conscious, this is the phone for you. I don't think any other phones cheaper than this are going to be right. And so that's what it is.
If that $200 between the 16E and the 16 really matter to you, then get the 16E.
And I could see myself buying this for my teenagers.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a budget-friendly phone that runs Apple Intelligence, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's just for only $200 more, you can get all these things.
Yeah, and it's not that budget-friendly.
It's not that, but thank you. Exactly. If it was more budget-friendly, then we would be like, obviously. The other thing, too, is carriers now have all of these trade-in options and like you price it out over 2 years and it ends up being like, because I did just buy my teenagers phones and I honestly bought them 16 Pro Maxes because it didn't end up being that much more by the time I traded in my phones and had all their offers. It just wasn't that much money.
And like, if you're doing any kind of trade-in, it can make a huge difference.
Exactly.
Between that and then whatever deal they're offering.
It was like an extra $200 total to get new phones that were nicer. Yeah. So anyway.
So that helps a lot.
Okay, that's device number 1.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Next, we have the MacBook Air. We're getting a M4 MacBook Air. You can already pre-order. It's available starting tomorrow, March 12th. And this one, it's basically the chip.
Yes.
Is the update, the M4 chip, and it supports Apple Intelligence.
Yes.
So basically, like all the devices we're about to go through support Apple Intelligence, which is, seems to be a big part of why Apple is doing this. So the MacBook Air, it also comes in like a starlight blue, which is very, very subtle, and you can only see the blue in certain lighting from the photos I've seen, but it's still pretty. And that's pretty much it for the MacBook Air. It's the same price as before.
No. See, this is what makes it the selling point. It's $100 cheaper. Apple never lowers their price on anything, and they made it $100 cheaper.
$9.99, right? Yeah. Instead of $10.99.
Yeah, exactly. And so to me, I feel differently about this than I did my iPhone 16e, which I trashed.
Really?
Well, because I think that this is not an exciting update, but I think this is the computer that most people should buy, right?
I mean, I love my M3 MacBook Air. So.
Exactly. I think that The new Apple Silicon chips are so powerful that you do not, unless you're doing really powerful work, you do not need the MacBook Pro, which incidentally I just got and I'm obsessed with, and I'll talk about that. But I do work that requires it. But for like run a podcast, for example, most people, the vast majority of people, I think that the Air is the right computer for them. It's a sweet spot of price to features and powerful computer. And it's a really powerful computer.
Yeah, it is a really powerful computer. I'm just trying to check right now to check on the one thing I really like about my MacBook Air is that it has an upgraded camera on it, the Face ID camera.
Mm-hmm.
And not the Face ID, the front-facing camera. And I'm wondering if the new one has the same one.
I believe it does.
Or if it's better.
Oh, I didn't read anything that it was better. Oh, no. Okay, so what it does, I believe it's the same camera. Here we go. It is, in fact, a better camera. It's a 12-megapixel camera as opposed to an 1080p camera.
Oh, okay.
And it supports center stage, which I never use.
Yeah, center stage I don't care about, but having a higher resolution does matter.
Yeah.
Also, more memory, which is nice.
In the base model, I believe
it says up to 32 gigabytes.
So you can max it out more, but I think the base model still starts at the same.
Is still the same. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, being built for Apple Intelligence, that's nice.
So the main things they did, really, they did improve the camera, they lowered the price, and they added an M4 chip. All of that stacks to being, while, it's not a revolutionary new computer, it's the computer you should buy. Like, if you need a computer, it's an amazing computer. It's lightweight, it's powerful, it's pretty affordable by Apple standards.
Yeah, I'm going to put a plug in, too, for getting the 15-inch one.
Yeah.
It's actually... Apple went a different direction with the more recent models where it's not as feather light as the old MacBook Airs were, but it's still really portable and the display is gorgeous and it's great. It's interesting. So we got the new iPad Air and that's supported by the M3 chip. That's the final device we got in all of this. And it also supports Apple Intelligence. And then they did one move, too, that I wonder if this is going to change your recommendation for people, where now the base model is 128 gigabytes. Because that was a big reason where we're always like, you need to buy the iPad Pro because it's sort of an illusion that the iPad Air is that much cheaper because you need to get 128 gigabytes as your base and 64 was the base. So Apple has finally gotten rid of 64 gigabytes as the base.
Yeah. Interesting. So definitely that does skew me much more towards it much more towards the iPad Air because similarly, the M3 chip is all the power you need in an iPad. You do not need the power for an iPad Pro, really. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the difference right now as we talk because I know that the iPad Pro has a really nice screen is the main thing.
And it's a weird thing now in terms of naming conventions. The iPad Pro is also lighter.
Really?
Yeah, the latest iPad Pro is lighter.
Get it together, Apple.
But the iPad Air, I similarly do feel like it's the iPad for most people.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a really nice device. It's significantly cheaper than the Pro. It doesn't have it there's trade-offs. Like you don't get the OLED display.
Also, the price difference is substantial. It's $599 versus $1299. The difference is the display.
And then but I feel like that base storage change to me is part of what really tips it in a different direction.
Oh, absolutely it is.
Also, I love my Magic Keyboard, and part of this new release with the iPad Air M3 is that it now has a compatible Magic Keyboard. And I have the 11-inch iPad Pro, and having the Magic Keyboard has made the difference between me using it and not. Like I've had iPads in the past that just became like dust collectors in the corner. But this, it's like you can take it on and off magnetically. It's completely seamless in terms of typing. Like there's no having to press any buttons and make sure it Bluetooth connected first. It really easily docks the Apple Pencil too. It's expensive, so that's a bummer, but it is $30 cheaper base price. With the new release, the Magic Keyboard now starts at $269.
The Magic Keyboard, I will say, I still stand by my standard iPad recommendation that it's not great for doing work. Even with the Magic Keyboard, but it gets you closer. You can start to do it a little bit.
I mean, my biggest complaint about the iPad in general, and having a new iPad doesn't change this at all, is I don't love iPad OS. I find iPad OS to be a bit clunky and not that intuitive, and I still hope that it evolves in a way that makes it more work friendly. But for now, it is a really nice device for, you know, browsing, light email, media content, all that kind of stuff. And I think the iPad Air is also, I think, good for like teenagers. I guess it's a little expensive instead of just getting the plain education iPad, but it is significantly better.
You know, I will say, because I went down this rabbit hole now, both my kids are in high school, and obviously there's little Ellie, but the other two are in high school, and they need the computers or iPads, and I got them both MacBook Airs. Because I don't think
MacBook Airs?
Yeah, because I don't think I almost got one of them an iPad, but I just didn't think it would cut it.
Yeah, maybe for their age. Like my nephew who's 10 loves his iPad Air. We went in on one for him last year.
That's a good distinction. If you're younger, you don't want something for work, right? Like you want to play games, you want to FaceTime your family and watch movies, and all of that iPads are perfect for.
Yeah. So those are our new devices.
You know, the only thing I'll say, do you find that 128 gigs is enough?
It is, although I do 256 on my iPhone, and I've been enjoying that.
That's what I do.
But I haven't hit up against any limits on the iPad.
Okay.
With 128.
It is true, especially if you don't need to store photos. That would be the main thing.
Yeah, because I don't have my photo library.
That would do it. That would do it. But anyway, even at 256 gigs, it's $699 compared to the iPad Pro starts at $999. It's hard to justify the iPad Pro. And
this is different than the recommendation we've made in our Buyer's Guide podcast in the past. Yeah. So I feel like that they did
breaking news.
Changed the equation enough.
I do think Apple does intentionally stagger these releases with spring and fall, so that I'm guessing this fall we'll get an iPad Pro that maybe is a pretty significant upgrade. And so I think Apple knows when they release this iPad that nobody's going to buy the iPad Pro until the fall.
Right.
And then they'll probably, so I guess the last thing I'll say to that is, you know, if you're tempted by a pro level iPad, wait till the fall, because there might be something special coming your way. We'll see. Because Apple, when I feel like they deliberately made the iPad Pro obsolete with this announcement.
I know. They're going to have to do some pretty significant upgrades to make it worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Other point I just want to make about all these devices is I feel like Apple really did release a round of devices around Apple Intelligence. And while I personally, right now, I don't know that Apple Intelligence is super essential. A lot of the features are fun to check out. I do feel like if you're buying a new device in 2025, you want it to be an Apple Intelligence supported device because it's future proofing it. And we're going to be getting more and more features that you're going to be sad to not have.
I agree with both points. As of right now, Apple Intelligence isn't doing a whole lot for me.
You might not feel that pain so much not having it now.
But we're at the tip of the iceberg, and Apple is clearly investing a lot in this, as is the industry at large. And so you don't want to get left behind because a lot's coming.
Yeah. And that brings me to the iOS 18. I've been wanting to talk about this.
Yes.
So iOS 18.4 is coming out in April. Apple's been hyping it for a while. We've all been really wanting and waiting. We've been watching and waiting for the contextual AI Siri that Apple promised when they released iOS 18 in the fall. A lot of people have been making purchase decisions around that, really excited to try out the new Siri. And so far we have nothing on that. There's the redesign. So what we do have, let's go over that quickly, is we do have a different look for Siri. It glows around the edges.
Which I love, but it's not
it.
Actually any benefit other than it looks pretty.
Yeah. And then there are little things if you misspeak, Siri's a little bit better at understanding what you were trying to say. There's type to Siri. Now, if you double tap at the bottom of your display, you can type instead of speak to Siri, and also certain questions you have about how to use your iPhone, Siri can answer for you and tell you where in settings to go, stuff like that. But that's nothing like when we got this like demos, and there's been a lot of ads from Apple of showing Apple being able to do really cool things. Like you can say, add this address to their contact card. If your friend sends you a new address, like you don't have to explain it. It'll just happen. You can send an email you have in your drafts, edit images, like just a lot of like more powerful tools where you don't have to like spell things out as much. But it turns out it looks like Apple's having a hard time getting all this stuff to actually work and be ready for prime time. So just from the rumors they've been reading, we might get some of these features with iOS 18.5 in May. We're also going to be doing an update to our iOS 18 course then for your listeners, for insiders. So we will be covering everything that does come out. But it looks like it might not be until like iOS 19 or even like 19.4 or 5 until like the full AI series is out. So we might be like in long haul. Because that was definitely the Apple Intelligence feature I've been the most excited about.
No, same.
And so it looks like it's just going to be a more slow and staggered rollout than we were thinking.
Which is very Apple. And it's, I don't know. I have a hard time being angry at them because they wait till they get it right. And I wish they got it right faster, but I appreciate that they're reluctant to release something that's half-baked, because
that's true.
When they've done that in the past, it really hasn't gone well. A lot of other tech companies do that a lot more.
The thing that I felt like was a little different, though, is that Apple usually waits to announce it even then. Like they did do like a weird thing where they set themselves up to over promise and then under deliver. Yes. And that I think was not the best move on their part. They must have just had more confidence in the Siri update coming out sooner than it's really turned out to be.
Yeah, no, I don't think this was intentional. This is, I mean, do you remember for a while Apple promised this charging pad where you could just put things anywhere and they didn't have to be lined up?
Oh, yeah.
It literally never came.
Yeah,
it never happened. So every once in a while, Apple thinks they got it and then turns out they don't. I don't think AI will be that. I think AI is coming. But I mean, when there were a lot of rumors around AI coming to the iPhone, you and I were very skeptical because we were saying, well, will they just tack it on or will they make it actually useful? I am optimistic that they're going about in a way where they're trying to make it actually useful in waiting till they get it there, as opposed to, it'd be very easy just to like slap ChatGPT on an iPhone and call it a day.
Yeah. Which also, I will say the ChatGPT integration into Apple Intelligence, I've been using
it a lot. Nice. No, it actually has been useful. I do agree.
So that is like something that Apple is bringing to us now, which is nice. And like we are getting, there are quite a few Apple Intelligence features I use a lot, like the cleanup tool in Photos too. And I will say too, I think that this will be worth the wait. Yeah. I think having the contextual Siri is going to be it's going to really change the way we use our phones.
I agree. I think
it's part of the reason I wanted to complain about it is because I'm excited about it.
Agreed.
And I actually use Siri a lot, but there's a lot of like pain points with Siri that this is going to solve.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get pleasantly surprised and get more of that with 18.5 than I'm thinking, but it might not be till the fall.
Stay tuned. It's right around the corner. We'll see.
All right. So next up, we have our app and gear section. I have some gear I'm really excited to update everyone on.
Tell us about it.
So I have been spending the winter renovating a home office situation, and I really wanted to get a standing desk to help promote a healthier lifestyle. So I reached out to Uplift, which is like one of the most popular standing desk companies. They sent me this really gorgeous corner desk. So it's an Uplift standing desk. They start at $599, but they range anywhere from $599 to like $1,200. I got the bamboo top one. It came about a month ago and I've been having so much fun using it. And so I wanted to report back and tell you all about it. So I guess just like for any of you not that aware of standing desks, sitting for long periods of time is considered like the new smoking, bad for your health.
If you haven't heard, sitting's bad.
Yeah, if you haven't heard, sitting is bad. So the nice thing about this desk is it just has a button on the side of it where it can lower and raise, because you don't necessarily want to stand all the time either.
Yes.
So you can mix it up throughout the day. My desk has also like different presets. So you can have different like favorite heights and just press the button and it'll go specifically to that. They also have a ton of accessories. Like if you're standing, you don't want to be standing on a really hard floor either. Like that's hard on your joints. So they have like cushy pads. A lot of those things too are nice because they're like free add-ons to your purchase. Michael, actually, he was so jealous of my desk, my husband, that he paid and got his own.
I mean, I'm jealous sitting here listening.
Yeah, and so he got his own, and like that's how I discovered like he got all the free add-ons.
Oh, funny.
There's like a stool too, like a kind of, that is better for your posture than like regular chair. I'm trying to think of what some of the other add-ons were. Just like bamboo organizers, things like that. But there was one thing that's like a rocking, like you put it on top of the standing mat, but it's like a wood little seesaw almost, and you can like rock back and forth on it. Being 9 months pregnant, I haven't tested that out yet.
Maybe not the right moment to be rocking.
So I'll have to report back on that one. But a lot of times the gear we cover is more like iPhone accessories. This is like a bigger item that I thought it'd be fun to talk about if you do have a home office you're wanting to make awesome.
Here's my question for you, because the majority of people I know who buy standing desks end up never standing. Do you find you're standing?
Well, also back to the point about being super pregnant.
Yeah, that's an unfair time.
So I haven't been using it as much for standing because I'm like super uncomfortable all the time. But I have been using it just to adjust the height of my desk a lot, because I've been using my yoga ball, which sits really low. So then I bring it all the way down. And then I've been using their stool at different times, which is higher. So it is really nice just being with the touch of a button to be able to change the height.
And I will say that part of why I'm asking is I find myself wanting to get a standing desk as well. And for me, at least, and everybody's work life is different, but I'm in a lot of meetings. And I feel like I don't think I would sit there and type while standing. But I feel like in meetings, you know me, I'm always standing and walking around. And so I miss that when I'm at home. I could see that being useful.
And you can pair it with, I got this this Belkin device called the Stand Pro that you can, this would just be for your iPhone, but you can, if you're on a call with that, it will follow you around in any video app. So you can like walk around the room and stay centered.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of like Center Stage, but I think it works better than Center Stage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I like set that up a couple days ago, and I used it on a FaceTime call last night. Funny. And it worked really well.
Cool.
So that could be something fun for you. I forgot to mention too, it has really nice. It has USB-C and USB-A plus just power adapter little ports at different places on the desk. So there's a lot of
really
options.
Nice. Yeah.
And then it also comes with like a cable organizer where you stick it to the bottom of it doesn't have it's you can see what's under the desk. So like when I first set it up, it was a mess of cables everywhere.
Yeah, which it really always is, and I hate that.
So they've thought of all those things, and that was an add-on also where now I only have one cord under my desk instead of like a bunch of ugly ones. Setup. So I got a lot of Michael's help with setup. I'm going to admit setup was like not super easy.
Okay. I mean, desks are not known to be easy.
Yeah. So there was like there's some investment of time to like really get it working right and like putting it together, because also the top came separate from the legs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't think that's like a reason to not buy.
No.
Any desk, you're going to probably have a similar situation.
Yeah, I mean, if it's unreasonably hard to set up, it is. But I would have expected a standing desk to take some doing.
Yeah, no, it was probably like under an hour.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah.
What about you? Any apps and gear?
Oh well, I'm going to talk about my computer.
Oh yeah.
So I have a new MacBook Pro M4.
Yes.
So it's, I do want to acknowledge first that I told everybody to go buy the MacBook Air, and then I have the MacBook Pro. Like I said, I do think the MacBook Air is the right computer for most people, but if you need a lot of processing power, this is the computer for you. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm upgrading from the M1. So I had an M1, which is obviously the first generation of Apple Silicon. To be honest, the thing that I love is the processing power. I don't think that there has been a lot of improvements to it other than that.
So David is constantly working with spreadsheets and will show us the like rainbow wheel of death to open them because, you know, like, I don't know. It wasn't something I was super aware of. I always thought graphic designers, people like that needed a lot of processing power, but also if you're just analyzing a lot of data, you really need it.
Yeah, data analysis is one of the things. I'm often working with databases that have 1.5, 2 million entries into them, and it can slow down my computer. So that's the main reason why I need it. Even though I don't do graphic design, and I do think actually this is a point worth noting. In the modern era where we all do so much remote work, driving a meeting is actually pretty processing heavy. So if you're driving a meeting, you're sharing your screen at the same time. You're trying to, especially if you're layering on video on top of that, all those sort of things does take a lot of processing power. So those are all the things I do, which is why I need it. But if you'd
say pretty like night and day difference.
It's, I loved my M1. And so this is actually, I think if you're somebody who wants an upgrade from a MacBook Air, but not necessarily, I don't think this is a case where you need the latest and greatest, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, you could get an M1, M2, or an M3 MacBook Pro and still be fine. Like I said, I waited from the M1 to the M4 to upgrade, right? So the nice thing is it has some longevity there.
Yeah.
But it is way faster. It has a nicer camera as well. I'm trying to think what other features it has.
Which, like, by the way, on the camera point, I think that for a MacBook, I care a lot more about the camera quality than I do for the iPad.
Yeah.
Like, that's one that the iPad, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Agreed. Like, I'm not going to do photography on it.
So the front-facing camera matters more for anything other than an iPhone.
Yeah, but having like a nice, not having to buy an external webcam and having just a really nice camera for all the calls. Like, I think most people now are doing calls of some type from their MacBooks. And so that's a nice update.
Yeah. And it's one of those weird things where you're staring at yourself all day. And it's they've done studies. It does weird things to your mental health. And at minimum, having a camera that's not terrible helps a little.
Yeah. And usually, I mean, you could make the argument that you don't want things being too high resolution, but most camera upgrades let more light in, which is generally more flattering.
Yes. Agreed.
So it's a good thing.
The other thing this has, I'm just wanting to go over a few other specs here. I did something as a test, which I've never done before. I got the Nano display. So do you know what this is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but you did tell me that you kind of like maxed out your MacBook with like the nice stuff. So tell us what you did
because
and if it's worth it.
So because you don't buy computers very often, and this is a computer I use all day, every day, I did sort of max it out. So what it is I don't even understand how it works, but they do a special thing to your display. I think it literally it's called nano texture because I think they literally add a tiny bit of texture to your display. And what it does is it prevents glare.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's really nice. Like there's no glare. Like I was in a room earlier today where it was 100% backlit and you barely noticed.
Really?
So, but
does that like even like outdoor work, do you think would work?
Yeah.
Because that's something I'm always like loving, the idea of being out on the porch working with a cup of coffee, but it's like not good in reality because it's so glare.
So that's the selling point. Yeah. And it's a very compelling selling point. Here is the major asterisk. It is very delicate. So it requires a special rag to clean it. Oh. If you just wipe it with anything, you're going to scratch your display and it'll be there permanently.
Oh no.
And even cleaning it, like you're not supposed to like really use, there's very specific requirements for what you can use to clean it. Like there's a certain cleaning solution that you're allowed to use on occasion, but if you use it too much, it'll damage your display. And I didn't know any of this. I just like, cool, like no glare. And now I'm like protecting my baby and not wanting to scratch it. So to be honest, if I were to do it again, I don't know that I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm just such a klutz that I would.
And I'm hard on computers. I use them all day.
Yeah.
And now I'm worried about it. And like, you constantly are smudging your computer and you want to I want to clean it. So it is great if you.
I want the anti-glare though.
Yeah. So it's a mix. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
But that was just an interesting trade-off that I wasn't that aware of. The battery life is the other thing that's just incredible.
Oh.
I mean, I just never
already like all the M1 on devices. It's like so refreshing if you've had anything older.
But my M1 was starting to reach a point where it was still incredible, but I would like, if I was using my computer all day, by the end of the day, I'd be charging it.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible. I'll use my computer, like, I don't even notice anymore. Like, I'll use it for like a week straight and not charge it.
Wait, seriously?
I'm sure that's not exactly true because I often dock my computer, which charges it.
True.
But it's just, the battery life is good enough that you don't have to think about it.
And that's saying, that's saying a lot.
And
that's
I use my computer. I use it hard. Like I'll just, even if I don't have meetings that in a day where I don't have to dock it, I'll use it all day and not have to charge it. 100%.
Man, it's just thinking back on this, I feel like the Apple creating its own chip with the M1 on was such a win.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and it was such a surprise. I feel like everyone was like, oh no, this is going to be a train wreck disaster. Yes. And then it's been the best thing ever.
Yes, it's been so great. The other thing that I found that the M chips do that I've never seen before with the Intel chips is I don't have battery drain when I'm not using it. That's why it lasts so long. If I'm not using my computer, the battery doesn't drain.
It's sort of a tangent, but why is that not true of iPads with M chips?
I know. The iPad battery drain is terrible.
Yeah.
And they're the ones you want to have the least with that.
It's one of the reasons I don't use my iPad as often, because I'll like leave it on 100% charge and like leave it off for a couple of days, or, you know, not using it, and it'll be like drained all the way.
I have to manage the charge so much, and then it ends up being not worth it.
Yeah.
Because you can always use your iPhone. Like, you use it because of the convenience and it's a nice luxurious screen, but if it takes all this work to charge, it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking though, the other thing that's a difference between my M1, I'm pointing because it happens to be in this room right now, my M1 and my M4 is it supports more RAM. So I have 128 gigabytes of RAM.
Oh, that must be like so speedy and nice.
It's so nice. I do strongly recommend, if you are going to splurge on a computer, that you invest in RAM.
That's the highest amount of RAM you can go, right?
That's the highest.
Like,
so you do not need
could get by on like 8 gigabytes of RAM, right? I mean, that would.
So this is what I'm getting ready to say. I don't think you can.
Okay.
I think at minimum 16 and probably 32. Even if you get the MacBook Air, you should be thinking about 32 and spending that money. 16 you can get by, especially with the M chips, which are great. But you should not be doing 8, and probably 16 isn't enough.
And like 128, I mean, that means you could probably have like unlimited windows open, right? And
it's
like, it's not going to be a problem.
Yes. I mean, it does. My computer, I still get some spinning wheels. So it does. It's not like it doesn't happen, but yeah, it's pretty great.
Different world though.
Yes.
Cool. So for our question of the week.
Oh, let me say one more thing just to compare and contrast, because I think it's important. Yeah. I mean, the display is beautiful. I think it's a nano. It's a nano LED. So they pack a lot more LEDs into the display. You have crisper contrast, better colors. It's great to look at. The computer is really heavy. This is not a computer for somebody who travels with a laptop.
It's a chunker.
It's very heavy. It's not portable. I got the 16-inch, so I made it even heavier. But that's the other reason why, for most people, I think the Air is great, because it's lighter.
Yeah. Who do you recommend this device for again?
I think it's for power users. It's for people either who are in a field like graphic design, video editing, or if you are somebody who has a job where you're spending 8 hours a day on a computer.
Yeah.
It's one of those little things. I read in a study once, this was back in the day when Twitter was Twitter, where they bought people new MacBooks and they saved money because it increased productivity. If you're on a computer all day, every day for work, having a computer that's faster can save you money. Again, obviously, for most of the people in our company, we have them on the Air because they're not getting slowed down. But if you're feeling like your computer, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's for somebody who's doing something that's processing heavy and works on a computer a lot, and then it's the perfect computer for that.
I could see it being good for certain retirees, like. My dad, for instance, is constantly, watching different YouTube videos, joining like webinars, different things like that, has probably hundreds of tabs open at any given time.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? That like for someone who's just like that immersed in their computer, it's probably still good, even if it's not for like a pro.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're just not that budget conscious, it's heavy.
If you've got the money, you're going to love it.
If you got the money, you're going to love it, except for if you have the money and you don't need to carry it around with you all day. Like that is the scenario where you're going to love it. And a lot of retirees or people doing lighter work will still love this computer. The display is beautiful. It's going to be faster. It's going to be snappier. It's a good point that it's not just for graphic designers. It's for people who want to splurge on a computer, which you only replace every, 5 years or something.
Does it have Apple Intelligence?
Yes, it has Apple Intelligence, which I don't use really much. I do really enjoy, this is, I think, just Sequoia, so it's not Apple Intelligence related, but now all of my iPhone notifications show up on my computer, which I really enjoy.
That's nice.
Yeah, not Apple Intelligence related though.
No, but it's just a note on how it is nice to update your OS on all your devices.
Yeah.
And you get all those benefits of the Apple ecosystem.
I'm really enjoying Sequoia as a side note. So if you haven't updated and your computer's compatible, I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we do it?
I think we did it. Question of the week we haven't done yet. I think it would be great to hear from all of you between the iPhone 16e, M4 MacBook Air, and M3 iPad Air. Are you planning on buying any of these devices? Why or why not? Email us at podcast@iPhoneLife.com.
Yes.
Stick around if you're an insider. We have some premium content just for you. But thank you everyone else for joining. And thanks, David. It's been fun having this conversation.
Thank you, Donna.